and that communication has been lacking. Well, as you know, let me give you a very specific example. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back.
What the fuck, bro?
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between. We're being broadcast live tonight, of course, on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hope you guys are having just a fantabulous day that ends in Y on this fantastic Friday. I was thinking February. It's going to be February next week, not this week. It is the last Friday of the month. Can you believe that? Whew. I don't know where this year is going. Actually, it should still be like September of last year, so I don't know. It's been just kind of nuts. Hi, Elaine. Yeah, very, very nuts. And so here I am. If you want to know more about me and what I do around here, you can always check out my website. It's www.paisleywild.com, or you can also shoot me an email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. If you have questions or comments, you want to talk about the show ideas, you need information. Sometimes you just need information, and I get it. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I should tell you? Oh, you can always find me on Facebook too. Paisley Wild. It's the @ symbol, Wild Paisley. If you want to just support my radio habit, which you can absolutely do so, you can do that by doing the cash tag. That's $TheSpacesBetween. And yeah, I think that's the housekeeping for the most part. I think. For those of you on YouTube, you saw my opening screen. It's a quote from Nikita Gill. And I really like it. It says, "You carry both lightning and thunder in that space between your bones and your soul. Become the storm that you are hiding from. A hurricane does not run from the rain." And sometimes we just really do need to remember that, because it's just so much easier to hide. And it is. It just is. But we just don't get much if we hide all the time, you know? We'll be stagnant and stuck, and nothing will move forward, and who wants to do that? I mean, seriously, who wants to be stuck? I don't know about you, but it feels like we've been stuck in 2020 for about 3 years now, roughly. don't want to be stuck in 2020. I want to move forward, for crying out loud. Darn it. So, as you can see, got a different background behind me. It's a curtain. There's a window out there. It's cold. It's dark. If it was lighter, I'd show you the amount of snow that's still out there, which is hard. I got a seed catalog from Baker Creek Seeds. They do a lot of heirloom and rare seeds, and they're fantastic. And there should be a link actually on my website if you want to access theirs. And it's just really good seeds, really unique seeds. Some things you haven't seen before. Like this year, for Mini-Me, I want to put in her part of the garden something called a snake bean. Sounds weird, right? Well, it is a bean. It really is a bean. And it is 4 to 6 inches in diameter and can grow like 6 to 9 feet long. Granted, we live in Idaho, so the odds of it actually getting that big are kind of low. However, it's kind of a big deal. It's a big seed. Big beans. Lots of beans. So, what is new in my world? Not much. Other than snow. And I'm upstairs sitting at the dining room table because, well, I'm cold. I'm wearing my fuzzy slippers, my pajamas, a sweater over my jammy shirt because it says cozy camper. That's not quite the image I wanted to put on today, so yeah. But hey, it's pajamas. Gotta love them, right? Yes, I'm at the table, and so Julia says the internet works better there. Actually, the reason why the internet is working better is I am hotspotting to my cell phone, so if the signal gets a little wonky, that's why. I don't know what it is, but it seems like every spring here in North Idaho, when the weather starts to get odd, yeah, we'll leave it at odd, well, the internet gets wonky. And I don't necessarily want to buy into the Jeff Bezos internet platform, but at the same time, I just want reliable internet. It's not that hard to ask for, right? For those of you in TFR that were listening last weekend, didn't know what happened. I hope it's fixed. If it's not, well, we'll find out. I hope it is, because that was kind of a mess. I don't know what happened there. I do know it is a little staticky. For that I do apologize. If it gets to be too much, let me know. So moving on and into the world of the news. Tonight I wanted to talk about jewelry. A lot of us, regardless of our belief system, wear jewelry. Often the jewelry is there to symbolize our faith. I think Christians often wear a crucifix. Those who follow the Jewish path often have the Star of David. Those who follow Islam might have, a crescent moon and star. I think that's what it is. That kind of thing. Buddhists, they might have a little Buddha figure. There's all sorts of different things. Taoists might have a coin. I mean, there's so many different bits and baubles that are considered iconography or acceptable jewelry to wear. For those of you that listened last fall, you'll know that I called a lot of those pentacles. A pentacle is just a piece of jewelry that is religious in nature and represents your religion. It's not necessarily a pentagram, it's a pentacle, which I think is cool. But there's other things that people wear all the time. I wear something with a raven often. I'm wearing a little doodad here with a couple of ravens on it. I do often wear a raven skull. I have a crow ring that I wear, among other things. I also have one that's got the cycles of the moons on it, that kind of thing. So those are me. Those are personal to me. Those who follow Thor might wear the hammer, which would make sense. So what are they? well, pretty common. People wear a lotus. You can see a lotus almost anywhere, often in gold or silver or inlaid with jewels or something, or semi-precious stones. Well, straight up, the lotus, when worn as jewelry, symbolizes enlightenment, purity, and overcoming obstacles. Apparently we need to wear more of those. So a lotus is generally, when it grows, it can kind of grow from swampy water, similar to a water lily, if you will. And as it grows, it emerges from the murky waters into a very beautiful flower. So the lotus itself is a very timeless symbol, and has a lot of meaning in many, many different belief systems, including Buddhism and Hinduism. And the meaning itself of the flower has a lot to do with the way it grows in nature. So yes, deep under the water, the very murky water, think swamp, slough, ditch, you know, just the murky water that you don't necessarily want to walk in because it looks icky. Well, it starts there and it grows, and then when it approaches the surface of the water, it blooms into this really, really awesome flower. And lotus flowers are beautiful, they really are. And so it symbolizes overcoming difficulties because it has to go through that murkiness or that muddiness. And how often do we go through murky and muddled times where things just don't seem to make sense? Pretty darn often, actually. And since we do, it's a great symbol for being able to overcome that murky or that obstacle that we just couldn't really see our way through. I mean, we've all had those problems where they're just overwhelming. And it feels like they're just piling on us more and more and more. And it's frustrating and vexing, and it just is a burden and overwhelming. And so what happens? Well, if you keep working through it and overcome that difficulty, sometimes in the process we do achieve spiritual enlightenment, which is fantastic. I mean, not everybody does, but a lot of us do. Often we come to some self-realizations as we're looking at ourselves more, that introspection that happens when we're going through the murky times. It's like, what could I have done differently? Should not have to be in this spot right now. Well, that's that introspection. And when doing that, you know, we have a lot of self-realization. And we can rise above those problems. We have the strength to overcome them. And we have that personal power and personal progress to move forward, which is, again, a really big deal. Because if we can have that progress and move forward, then, you know what? It does get a little easier. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And I understand. But it does get easier. If for no other reason than we know it's going to work. Everything will be okay. And then, so once we've overcome things, once we've achieved things, wearing a lotus as a piece of jewelry is very symbolic of overcoming things. And it's often a dainty piece of jewelry. So for those that are looking for a quieter memento of overcoming a difficulty or a trial or tribulation, that kind of thing, often a smaller piece of jewelry draws less visible reaction. Not always, but it could, it should. I mean, this is your battle, it's your journey. It's not really something for other people to glom onto and try to change or fix. Often if they are inlaid, they may be crystals, so white crystals of some sort, often mean purity of mind. Pink crystals or stones, perfection, or a follower of Buddha. Red often shows compassion. Blue is knowledge, and then if it's gold or yellow, achievement of spiritual enlightenment. I have seen the lotus flower with all of those different colors in them. So if you have all of the different colors, that means you have overcome all of the different things, and that's awesome. And you should celebrate it, absolutely. And don't let somebody else tell you otherwise. That's just not okay. We have too many people out there being the keyboard warriors telling us how to believe and how to think and how to feel. You need to stop and just let it be. Remember, we're not walking in their path. They're not walking on our path. We're two different people having two different experiences. And if they don't really understand where you're coming from, does their opinion really matter? If it doesn't really matter, why are you picking a fight with them online? I mean, seriously. Because it seems like we spend a lot of time online these days. Less time face to face, more time online. A lot of people feel a lot more secure in their ability to be jerks online, unfortunately. Now, let's see. Hold on. Since I am streaming through the phone, I just want to make sure that the signal's getting through. Seems to be fantabulous. So, the next one on my list is the Hamsa. The Hamsa is the hand. If you guys have seen it, often it looks like it's got 3 fingers and then 2 fingers on each side that are kind of splitting off and they look weird. It's an ambidextrous hand, if you will. So the Hamsa is often they're used to represent protection or good fortune or luck. So the name Hamsa comes from the 5 fingers on each hand. In all faiths, the Hamsa is a protective sign symbolizing the hand of God, or an overall good luck charm. Happiness, luck, good fortune, protection from the evil eye specifically are said to be brought to the owner that possesses the symbol. In jewelry, the Hamsa works as well as an accent piece, sometimes even more simple. Again, this is one of those things that a lot of folks will wear because it is a protective symbol. It is a religious symbol, and for those of you who are in the military, for instance, that do not follow Christianity but follow more of a pagan path, you have just as much right as the Christian or the Jew or the Muslim to wear a symbol of your faith. So if they can wear the cross or the Star of David, you can wear a crystal, or the Hamsa, for instance, or the lotus, or the hammer, or Thor's hammer, any of those different things. If it's truly representative of your faith and your beliefs, the military does allow for that here in the U.S. So the Hamsa is often solid with some different dots on it just to give it a little bit more meaning. Sometimes it's inlaid with other things. I have normally seen it in silver, but it could be in gold as well, with abalone, or abalone shells. And actually I've seen it a lot with abalone shell. And it is pretty. It's a pretty piece and often very, very delicate. Let's see. Checking the time. Alright. Next one on my list here is the evil eye. Now you would think that people wouldn't want to wear an eye symbol. But they do. Because if you're wearing the eye symbol, and it is not like Horus, the eye of Horus or the eye of Ra. No, this is just an eye. The evil eye specifically. It is a symbol of protection or health or good fortune. So the evil eye symbol is based upon a legend that those who are the recipient of the evil eye's glare will undergo misfortune. And protection against the eye are said to be brought to those wearing it. So an extremely popular symbol in jewelry is a piece that represents an eye. I've seen it in silver or gold with a stone of some sort as the pupil of the eye. Sometimes I've seen it as a ring or on a bracelet, but normally I see it as a pendant for a necklace or as earrings or even a hair clippy. I could also see it as a tie clip or a tie tack. Not that many people wear those anymore, do they? I don't know. Don't see a lot of ties anymore. Mostly I see people in pajamas. So, anyways, the people wear the eye symbol as a way to protect themselves from the negative energy and reflect it back. Next on my list is the Tree of Life. Now, we see the Tree of Life everywhere, and it's really made a resurgence, if you will, in symbolism that we are seeing on jewelry. Whether it's in necklaces, on stone wrappings, dream catchers, earrings, brooches, prints. I mean, the Tree of Life is showing up pretty much everywhere. And I've seen some very, very ultra-Christian people wearing the Tree of Life just because they think trees are cool, and I let it go. It's like, alright, I'm not going to wear the cross, but I'll let you wear the Tree of Life, sure. But the Tree of Life is very representative of new beginnings, very positive energy, and a higher purpose. Because it is a higher purpose, it is new energy. And it's also one of growth or strength. I mean, the Tree of Life has been around pretty much forever. The roots and branches are a reminder that you're connected to the outside world and you're never really alone. The branches, of course, reach to the heavens, and the roots reach down to the underworld. It's all-encompassing. And so it reinforces that underlying concept of the symbol of its entirety, that all life on Earth is somehow connected. And it is. We are all connected, every single one of us. Hey, Leo. Personally, I like the Tree of Life. I think it's awesome. I think it's a beautiful piece of jewelry. It does not need to be extravagant, and I have seen just a real simple wire wrap, and it looks good. It looks fantastic. And as a simple wire wrap or as something more complex. I think one of the neater dream catchers I've seen are the ones that are knotted up and you got the tree up above, and then where the roots would be are the dangly bits, like the ribbons or feathers or ropes and whatnots. Another one that's pretty common and we're seeing more of is the mandala. Talk about something else that's been making a resurgence and showing up everywhere. If you pick up an adult coloring book, for instance, you will see mandala symbolism pretty much throughout it. I see it showing up in a lot of tattoos, and just all over the place. The mandala is generally representative of meditation, healing, and spiritual guidance. A mandala on like your yoga mat, or if you do divinations, so your tarot card mat, I could see a mandala with, that would be pretty basic, pretty, yeah, I would expect to see it there. And it's very symmetrical. Very, very, very symmetrical. So the mandala symbol is an artistic expression. It symbolizes the universe at its most basic. So the mandala's literal meaning is circle, even though often it's shown with petals and leaves and stars and whatnot. It's a circle. So modern consumers, or today, have associated the mandala with a bohemian lifestyle, if you will, the artsy-fartsy hippie crowd, but it's not. It's universal again. Sacred geometry is, to me, it shows up in a lot of sacred geometry also. And it's been around for a very, very long time, and it's a very, very spiritual symbol. And the meaning does vary from balance to unity to harmony, and generally it serves as an excellent representation of the order and the connection that it has, or that we all have, with both the physical and the spiritual universes. I mean, we're both here and there. It's not just one or the other. It's all encompassing. Now, if you're going to wear one, you know, I've seen them in prints, on clothing. I've seen them in scarves, hats, gloves, seat covers, blankets, you name it, I've seen it. If you're needing that spiritual guidance, I can totally see having a blanket with a mandala embroidered on it, or screen printed or something to help you focus your spiritual guidance while you're sleeping, or again on your yoga mat or your meditation room, or if you are a doctor or nurse, I could see having mandala images all over your scrubs. It would make total sense to me. And the colors often vary. I've got a black pashmina that's got an elephant on it and paisleys all over it. Paisleys print reminds me a lot of mandala, but yeah, it's all together. So it comes in black, it comes in white, and pretty much any color of the rainbow. And some that people are just making up. When you're using it, absolutely set your intention as you're getting ready to meditate. And then, you know, do your focused meditation while using the mandala to help you focus your energy, focus your mind. I've done that myself. It's actually really easy for me to focus my meditation when I'm mentally visualizing the mandala. It can also help me, guide myself into sleep if I'm having a hard time and I'm trying to trigger that sleep cycle. It doesn't always work because insomnia is real, but it does. It does help often. And if your mind does begin to wander, just bring yourself back to that mandala, and it'll bring you back into focus so you can, move forward with your meditation cycle. Let's see. Checking the time here. Okay, I'm not going to go on to the next one because we've got just about a minute before our first break. From what I understand, the call line is open, so if you wanted to call, I think I would know this number by now, but apparently I don't. Yeah, I don't have it pulled up. Pull it up. The call lines are open, so if you wanted to call in, you absolutely can. 213-233-3998. There it is, right in the middle of the screen. I think I would, yeah, we don't want to talk about that. Maybe I should put my glasses on. Maybe not. Yeah. Speaking of jewelry, there will be some up on the website, some necklaces that are pretty cool, with seashells and stones and such. And then, yeah. Tomorrow night we're probably going to talk about Imbolc, or Imbolc if you want to talk, see the spelling of it, I-M-B-O-L-C, because it is about that time of the year again. Cannot believe how this year is just screaming by, and it is. So, that being said, we are off to our first break, and I'll be right back.
Discover the extraordinary power Isis, Starting Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna. Isis, Starting Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna. Isis, Starting Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between. Tonight we're talking about jewelry and the symbolism involved, and kind of what's going on there, and I don't know, see what else comes up. Tomorrow night we'll talk about Imbolc. I suppose I could have done it tonight, but I really wanted to talk about jewelry. It's been sitting on my computer for a couple days now because I've been looking into it. Because I wear a lot of jewelry. And I think it's awesome. So there. Alright, so if you do have questions, by all means say something in the chat room. If you do call in and I don't respond, let me know. I promise I'll get to it. Oh, yes. Anyways, next one on my list is the butterfly. People wear butterflies all the time as jewelry. They're beautiful, they're symbolic. Often people wear them in remembrance of other people, someone who's passed on, that kind of thing. Which is really, really fitting because the butterfly does often represent the soul or resurrection, transitions or overcoming difficulties. Because, yes, we have difficulties, I've mentioned that before. Excuse me, speaking of jewelry, I have some new jewelry. It's a little sore. Anyways, the butterfly, yeah, really, really common. We see it everywhere. And it's just very symbolic of life's major transitions. Sometimes they're minor, but the difficulty associated with it is often major. So whether it's a big transition or a little one, you're overcoming a life event of some sort. And the beautiful fluttering of the butterfly shows the movement from one phase to the next with grace. I mean, butterflies are one of the few creatures that totally deconstructs itself in the process of metamorphosizing into the next awesome thing. Many also believe that the butterfly is a symbol of comfort and is there to help reassure someone who has lost a loved one and that their soul lives on. And so this often has, I've seen it inlaid with pretty much any precious or semi-precious stone, whether solid, gold, silver, even titanium or steel. I've seen it crafted everywhere. And butterflies are a big deal. Mini-Me has several on her wall. So yeah, it's just, and they're not real, of course. They're awesome. For those of you that live local to Sandpoint, if you have a chance to get into 0 Point, they do have a selection of real butterflies available for purchase, and they're awesome. Those specific butterflies are set in a shadow box type frame, and they're harvested from a butterfly farm, I believe in Peru. And they're, once they expire naturally from the, on the butterfly farm, they're collected and then placed in the frame and then sold to help support the farm, which I think is pretty cool. Turns them into a really awesome art piece and helps support a really good cause. There's a lot of very colorful, very rare types of butterflies that are often on that farm. Next on my list is an anchor. Now, most people assume that if you're wearing an anchor, it's because you're a sailor, you like the boats, or maybe you're preppy, I don't know. You're in the yacht club, that kind of thing. But also, anchors are very representative of stability, trust, and security. And that makes sense. If you are on a ship of some sort, boat of some sort, and you drop an anchor, it's because you want to secure yourself to that specific location. And is it a kind of a beach symbol? Yes, but you know, it's important. So the ocean often represents free-flowing ideas, a laid-back lifestyle, feelings of serenity. So the anchor helps to anchor that and stabilize it. And so some people might wear it with other symbols like a starfish or octopus or dolphins, that kind of thing, for other oceanic type symbols. Or they may just wear the anchor to help make sure that they've got that, channeling that trust or that security or that stability, or memorializing someone who offered that to them, and helping you to be grounded. So the next one is the Kaori Shell. Kaori is C-O-W-R-I-E, Kaori. It's a little shell. It's if you see a strand of seashells in a necklace, often it is a Kaori shell type necklace. They represent good fortune and fertility and prosperity. Now, excuse me. Now, for me, totally get why they represent fertility. You just gotta look at them. But you know, some of the very first jewelry that was made from shells, specifically from the Kaori shells, just because they're easy to work with. And it's very much a seaside icon, and it does serve as a symbol for luck and prosperity. So once upon a time, beads of any or shells were used as currency. So if you had quite a few of them, that meant you had good fortune, and that you were prosperous. But since also it's thought to provide fertility, help with your birth, like if you're pregnant, or if you're trying to understand your own sexuality, especially if you lean toward the feminine, then that may be something that you would want to wear more of. Now remember, not all jewelry is created equal. You may have your own meaning for a specific type of jewelry, which I totally get. And everybody's a little different, and that is that's okay. So let's see, and of course, just like I always do, I will have the links for the websites I'm using. Will be in the show notes. Just want to scroll up just a little bit here because I found a couple of, oddly enough, these didn't come from pagan sites. The information came from jewelry sites. Some of it is marketing, I get it, but you know, there's some really good information here too. So, you know, in the first half of the show, I talked about how people will wear jewelry to memorialize or motivate themselves, or you know, they often wear it for personal reasons. And you know, as I just mentioned with the Kaori shells, often they were worn as a form of currency. Sailors, especially back in the time when sailboats were a big deal, sailors would often wear a gold ring in one ear. It's not necessarily because they thought it was pretty or it was, you know, really attractive for them. It was so that even upon death, they could use that gold ring to pay for the cost of the funeral service. So it was not just as a piece of jewelry, but also for just normal, boring purposes. Jewelry has often been shown as a symbol of wealth. If you don't think so, watch any award show for the rich and famous ever. Talk about a lot of jewelry that sparkles and shines. Yeah, there's a lot of it. So it's wealth and also a status symbol. Very much so. I tend to wear a lot of rings just because I like the touch of it, and it helps keep me grounded, especially when I'm in a crowd. So that's, to me, pretty functional. Some people wear jewelry, again, for religion or religious purposes. I do somewhat. I pretty much almost always have a raven of some sort on me. Some jewelry is very, very functional. Think about your brooches. A lot of them were worn to hold a scarf in place, or to hold a cowl in place, or a hood in place. Generally speaking, today, jewelry is used as a form of fashion. It's a fashion accent or a form of self-expression. Some jewelry is worn to represent a relationship. Your wedding band, your engagement ring, or promise ring, those types of things. Those are generally symbols of relationship. Some people wear jewelry as a rite of passage, depending on your culture. It may be a nose ring. We've all seen the National Geographic imagery where someone's wearing a big plate in their lip, or they've got the big ear extensions, or the bones through the nose, or the multiple necklaces, that kind of thing. And that can often be worn as a rite of passage. Now, a lot of jewelry is also used for protection. And I'm not talking about the big gold dollar sign that the rappers wear that they could be used as a blunt instrument. No, I'm talking about tourmaline. The symbology, like my raven, to just kind of a touchstone, and also a form of protection. And some jewelry is just worn because it's memorializing someone who's passed. It's an heirloom. One of my rings, it's an ametrine, which is part amethyst and part citrine, so it's half orange and half purple. And that dividing line is pretty absolute. And that belonged to a family member that's been passed down a couple generations now. And so that's why I wear it. Let's see. Often we wear costume jewelry, partly because we want to show that status, and sometimes for that fashion accent. But it's faux. Sometimes, I like to wear costume jewelry because I'm not worried about it breaking and being damaged or being lost. I don't want that. Thank you very much. But it's also sparkly. And if it wears out and breaks, okay, fine. It wore out and it broke, and that's okay. I do have a few pieces that don't get worn very often because they are not costume jewelry, and I don't want them damaged. I don't want them worn out because they just have a lot more value. That's just all there is to it. So, excuse me. Not used to being up this late, guys. Sorry. So, when it comes to jewelry, quite a few different stones are used. In the first half hour, I mentioned colors of stones. I'm going to talk about some specific stones now. One of my favorite pieces that I really don't wear very often, I don't know what I'd wear it to. It's a set of jade pearl cut jade beads. It's a necklace and a bracelet, and there's some drop earrings and a butterfly hairpiece. And they're beautiful. They're just this dark, beautiful green jade. But they're an heirloom piece, and I really don't want them to be damaged or hurt or lost. So jade represents the balance of the yin and the yang, and due to the balance between its beauty and its hardness. So a lot of stones are beautiful, but they're not very hard, and they're prone to damage. Think an opal. If you don't take care of an opal properly, it could break or shatter, and that would be bad. Hold on. Sorry. There's a cat trying to get... There's a cat in the wrong place. That actually worked. I'm impressed. So jade is called the stone of heaven, and it plays a really, really significant role in Chinese culture. And since jade does represent the balance of the yin and the yang, in China, it was very, very in touch with that balance. The stone often gets a higher price than, say, precious metals like gold or silver because of that rarity. And it's considered to be the most valuable stone in that particular culture. So traditionally, jade jewelry represented a magical quality thought to provide protection from evil spirits, bad luck, and illness. And even today, Chinese families often bestow jade bangles upon babies to prevent bad luck. And jade jewelry often represents a connection to the past. Since that stone has played such a huge pivotal role in Chinese history, jade stone jewelry is passed down through the generations. And many pieces feature a round jade disc with a hole in the middle. Okay, personally, I think that's fantastic. It's very, very easy to wear. The rounded shape, yes, it's easy to wear, but also represents heaven for the Chinese culture. People believe the holes are a way to speak to the gods and to help prayers reach heaven. So you're speaking through the circle. And this style of jade jewelry traditionally features as part of a funeral proceedings to connect heaven and earth. So jade carries a very positive connotation in other cultures as well. And the stone is thought to bring other benefits, such as, the metaphysical properties, yes, like access to the spiritual world, can help inspire creativity. Very much a talisman, has talismanic properties. It helps you to achieve a peaceful death after a long life. Jade has been used in healing. It's worn as good luck or given as good luck. It's also a sign of friendship if you've received it or it's sent to you. And often it's worn to eliminate negativity and to allow you to see your own true self. And it helps you to recharge your own energy when you stroke it. So you're supposed to pet the jade, just saying. And if you're wearing a jade necklace, often they're just very, very tasteful, even if it's just a circle, or a jade hammer, or just something to wear on a thong or a chain, whatever it is. You can't go wrong with the way that the jade is mounted and worn. You just can't. I have yet to see an icky looking piece of jade, honestly. They all look fantastic. So, yeah, they just do. So yes, if you're a service member and jade represents your belief system, absolutely, wear it. Do it. A lot of people wear turquoise jewelry. Also, a lot of people wear turquoise jewelry. You see it a lot in the Southwest. And tribal Native American cultures often use a lot of turquoise. Well, why? We'll get to that in a moment. So turquoise carries a very strong positive message. Traditionally, it represents wealth and opulence. Personally, I love turquoise. I think it's beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful stone. My dad, he's eclectic. He's Christian, but he's very, very eclectic. And the older he gets, the more Christian he is. I guess the closer he gets to death, the more he believes in God. I don't get it, but whatever. He has a very strong personal energetic signature. To the point where he could not wear a watch, period. And one year I got him a watch. It was a crank watch, a hand turn watch, so it wasn't a battery powered. He had to wind it to get it to go. It had a silver back, and the bracelet part was silver, and it was inlaid with a lot of turquoise. It's a beautiful watch. It really, really was. And because of the silver and the turquoise, it affected his energy system in such a way that he was able to wear that thing, 5 years, 6 years, he had a car accident and lost it finally. But he wore it for years. And it was the first watch that he'd been able to wear. Nowadays, he walks by a computer and it turns off. He does have a cell phone, but he does have a little bit of shungite in there with his cell phone to keep it going. Otherwise, his own energy field blows the system. It's crazy. He goes through batteries like nobody's business, even with the shungite. It's just crazy. So, turquoise, good stone. Turquoise carries a very strong positive message. It does traditionally represent wealth and opulence, and it has shown up in jewelry from around the world. Absolutely around the world. Ancient cultures believed turquoise had very spiritual powers, including the Navajo, for instance. The Navajo tribes believe turquoise jewelry represents health, happiness, luck, and connection to the natural world, since the colors in the stones come from nature. That connection to the earth created the idea of turquoise as a protective force. The number and size of turquoise stones in Navajo jewelry also serves as a symbol. The more turquoise jewelry represents a greater wealth and or social power or social standing. So if you're speaking to someone who's from the Navajo Nation, how much turquoise are they wearing? That'll give you some clues as to where they're at in the world. Persians, such as the ancient Persians, turquoise represented heaven. So they used the stone in many ways to represent the ideas. So when someone passed, it was often worn as the death jewelry or stuff that was buried with the dead, or used ritualistically when it came to funeral ceremonies or funeral rites. The Greeks wore turquoise because they felt it was a symbol of purity. So if you weren't married, if you were a maiden, you would wear turquoise to show that you were not sullied or impure. You were a pure individual. In Tibet, they derived the symbol or symbolism from the stone's gradual change as it wears. So as turquoise ages, it does fade from blue to green. This is a normal color change, by the way. It's not something that's manufactured. It's something that is a normal transition. And that change to the Tibetans symbolizes the wisdom that you gain in life. So as you age, in theory, you become more wise. In theory. Also, it is very representative of the connection between life and death. So as you age and you follow, life follows, or death follows life, that turquoise follows that transition. So bracelets and pendants are very common jewelry types among the Tibetan people. And in today's world, Western society, a lot of people wear turquoise just because it's pretty, because it is. But it does have some very positive and beneficial aspects that go beyond the beauty. Often people feel it helps open the heart and clears the thought. And it helps improve the overall well-being and emotional health of an individual. So if you are trying to learn more about your own spiritual path and your spirituality, your turquoise might be something to wear. I see a lot of butterflies with turquoise and lotus with turquoise. So, when you're looking for jewelry, try to find something that's going to meet your needs. And whether it's a specific stone, like I've talked about, or a specific shape, which I'll be talking about next. So a lot of jewelry comes in the form of beads. Generally I wear at least 2 beaded bracelets because I like them. I think they're pretty, and they're both gifts, and why wouldn't I wear them? Hello. But beads, they've been, again, used as a form of currency around the world for millennia, and it's because they're very easy to transfer one culture to the next, one society to the next, and strands of beads are often very easy to transport. In our world today, fashion uses a lot of beads. Fashion does. But the symbolism and the way the beads are used do vary from culture to culture around the world. For example, in Africa, beaded jewelry in Africa dates back thousands of years, and often using different meanings. That serves as a status symbol. It also symbolizes affiliation with a particular tribe. So some people use beaded jewelry for adornment, while others use it as a type of currency for trading. So different tribes will have different bead patterns or different beads. If you look at any of the different tribes of Africa, you can see those different bead patterns, so different color patterns. Also, beaded jewelry, it's pretty significant in quite a few different religious ceremonies in Africa. And often they feature organic materials, such as stones, shells, ivory, bone, amber. In Kenya specifically, these were once created from ostrich eggs. Okay, this doesn't surprise me at all. Have you ever looked at an ostrich egg? They're huge. I mean, they're huge. poor ostrich, but they're huge. So the idea that they might be making beads out of those shells, yeah, not a shocker at all. Totally makes sense. Completely and totally. Now, real quick, just because I am at the kitchen table rather than down at the desk, I don't have my singing bowl. So we won't do the singing bowl tonight, but we'll do it tomorrow night. Because it's just not the same without it. It really isn't. And it looks like I have to go tell Yeti the cat to stop playing in the garbage because he's being pesty. So that's what I'm going to do at break. Which is almost here, can you believe it? Time is just flying. I'm going to check the call board because I never remembered to check it. Check the chat rooms because I forget to check those. And yeah, I'm just out of practice. That's all there is to it. Oh well, what do you do? Just getting back in the saddle, trying to do the thing with the stuff, right? So, on that note, off to break, and when we come back, we'll continue talking about jewelry. If you have questions, by all means, give a call. Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between. Hope you guys are just having a fantastic Friday. Day that ends in a Y. Yeah, it's a good day, right? Tonight we're talking about jewelry and the symbolism and how important it has been to cultures around the world. Not just the stones themselves, but the cut, the shape, the beads. You know, how are the stones shaped, and just different symbols. Just before break, we were talking about the beads from Africa, and now we're going to go into the Masai. So the Masai culture, very strong culture. Yeah, definitely a warrior society. They use this beaded jewelry as a way to show both status and age. So a long, bright blue beaded necklace often indicates that a woman is married. The beaded jewelry becomes more elaborate as a person attains a higher social status. Beaded jewelry also serves as a source of income and a bonding experience for the women in the culture. So the women often work together to create the beaded jewelry and sometimes sell or trade it. So if you have Masai work, it's a big deal. They make beautiful stuff. Definitely artisans, and yeah, if you're talking to someone in that particular culture who's wearing something that's very elaborately beaded, you're talking to somebody who's pretty important. In the Greek culture, strings of colorful beads form kamboloi, or worry beads. These could be glass or amber, and often there's a head bead on one end and a tassel on the other. So kamboloi, started as knotted ropes, and the Greeks then said a prayer for each knot. Think your, I would have made a horrible Catholic. Rosary, very similar to rosary. Prayer beads are actually something across culture, or cross-cultural, can't use my words today, and this shows up all over the world, different cultures. Each knot or each bead is very symbolic of a thing. So, yeah, as the religious symbolism started to fade with the knots specifically, the kamboloi became more of a stress reliever or an aid in meditation. So, prayer beads, definitely something that's used, mantras, prayers, or in a meditation type format. Ancient Egypt, well, they wore a lot of necklaces and collars and jewelry and beads. All of them had different symbols. Egyptian beaded jewelry often consisted of several strands of beads gathered together to form wide collars to be worn around the neck, like a choker. Specific groups, such as priests, priestesses, dancers, pharaohs, or the wealthy, wore certain styles of necklaces or collars. So a beaded piece called a shebu collar was given to reward valor, and Egyptians also wore simpler beaded necklaces, often with amulets integrated into the design for protection or to honor a specific deity. So in moving on in jewelry styles, the Hopi tribe, they have a very specific style of jewelry. It's known around the world, similar to the Masai, and they often include turquoise and other symbols that are important to the tribe, such as water, sun, corn stalks, or kachina dolls or kachina figures. So, side note, squirrel moment. So kachina dolls often have a lot of power, and even if you don't believe in their power, it's still there. So my brother-in-law, once upon a time, was in law enforcement, and he did some training in the Southwest as part of his career. And while there, he went to a bazaar and bought a Kachina doll for my sister and brought it home to her. And it was really pretty. Actually, it was very, very pretty. It was about 14 inches tall, and just vibrant colors and just a real positive energy to it. Well, she had placed it in the kitchen area because it was supposed to be a kitchen or hearth kachina. And a couple of years later, they had a house fire, totally gutted the house. It was a relatively new house, and what had happened is the stovepipe separated in the attic, and sparks got out and caught the attic aflame, which the attic, it wasn't much of an attic. It had vaulted ceilings, so the attic was, 12 inches deep, maybe? I mean, there wasn't a lot of room there, and it gutted the house. And the chimney went right by where the Kachina doll had been resting, and is just real central to the home. And post-fire, when the cleanup crews went in to gather their belongings and try to salvage them, they found the Kachina doll, and they thought that they had found it with minimal damage, like just the hands had been melted off or something. Well, honestly, the hands had melted off. The glue had burnt between the Kachina doll and the hands that had been adhered to it. And they found the hands, too. So they were able to reassemble the Kachina doll, and my sister now has it in her kitchen, many years later. So, would the fire have been as bad if they had not have had the Kachina warrior there to protect them? Don't know. Would they have all gotten out with no injury whatsoever? Man, that was harder because the fire start point, it was right at the pinch point between where the bedrooms were and the main entrances were. They didn't have a back door that they could have used to get out. They would have had to go through bedroom windows. So, yeah, I think, they had a hearth spirit definitely looking over them. And I really do think that they had, that protection was from the doll. So, with the Hopi tribe, their jewelry it is unique. So a craftsman from the Hopi tribe learned silversmithing, and they use a lot of different designs. They use a process called overlaying to solder pieces of silver together. One piece often features cutouts, and then the different pieces have other symbols that are important to the tribe, like symbols for water, sun, corn stalks, or the Kachina figures. The technique creates a very beautiful and contrasting look while also adding depth to the piece. And the combination of distinct symbols and the unique silversmithing method makes the jewelry very, very easy to identify, and in that uniqueness it is quite beautiful. Quite beautiful. So going to symbolism, the Star of David is one that those of the Jewish belief often wear, and it marks the solidarity of the Jewish people. So it's both a symbol of religion and their culture when worn in jewelry. Now, the strongest connection to the Star of David design is to Judaism, but other cultures do use it, both currently and in the past. Often the symbol featured is two triangles positioned to form a six-pointed star. It's often found on necklace pendants. So, yes, the Star of David represents the solidarity of the Jewish people. And other people in the Middle East and North Africa regions believe the Star of David brings good luck. Again, that really depends on your culture and how you feel. There are quite a few different Celtic jewelry symbols or Celtic designs when it comes to jewelry. Often they represent connections or relationships with others. So those often show up in rings or pendants or necklaces, bracelets. Very common in the Celtic style jewelry. So the Claydagh ring. So it's a traditional feature or a symbol that features two hands holding a heart in the middle, and the heart has a crown on top. So the Claydagh ring represents friendship, love, and loyalty in relationships, both with friends and within families. So the ring displaying a Claydagh shows the wearer's relationship status. The Claydagh ring worn with the heart towards the person's body on the right hand indicates a relationship. The ring worn on the left hand with the heart pointed away from the body represents an engagement. Now, once married, the ring stays on the left hand but is flipped, so the heart points towards the person wearing the ring. Celtic knots are all over the place these days. Very recognizable. That it's a interwoven loops that often appear on necklaces, earrings, jewelry, prints, etc. And the symbol represents interconnectedness because the curvy lines weave back and forth and around one another. It all represents timelessness, as depicted by the appearance of no beginning or end in the knot design. So Celtic knots are often thought to protect against setbacks or to wish someone longevity, a long life. A Trinity knot is a slightly different knot symbol. It's similar to the Celtic knot and does show up in other cultures as well. Has no visible beginning or end, and the lines do weave around one another. Now, the Celtic knot has 4 curved edges, and the Trinity knot features 3 points in the design, forming a triangular shape. In a religious context, the 3 points represent the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Yes. Others wear the Trinity knot for protection or to represent promises. The Trinity knot also represents love and honor, and so it's often very popular in engagement jewelry. So the Trinity knot, if you need a visual, if I remember right, yeah, if you watched Charmed at all, the symbol that they use is also the Trinity knot. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. The Triskel uses 3 curved legs that come out from the center of the design. Some jewelry does have a circle around the Triskel. The 3 legs represent 3 related elements depending on the wearer's beliefs or values. So yes, if you're Christian, it may be the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. If you're not Christian, it may be something else altogether. For me, it'd be the Maiden, Mother, and Crown, for instance. Some people do use the Triskel to represent the bond between mother, father, and child. Others for past, present, and future. Some use it for creation, existence, and destruction. Or the relationship between the spiritual, mortal, and celestial worlds. All groups of 3, right? Since the legs do have a spiraling design that creates the sense of motion, the symbol sometimes represents progress or action. For example, you might give Triskel jewelry to someone who recently graduated or is starting something new in life as a way of marking their progress forward. Alright. Yeah, time is flying. So the Tree of Life is not the only tree, by the way, that gets noticed in jewelry or memorialized in jewelry. There's other specific symbolism associated with trees. Excuse me, it does vary just a bit with the culture. Often curving branches are noted, visible roots are like the Tree of Life. Some are just branches, some are leaves. It does vary. So, some examples of tree symbolism that you might see is the Garden of Eden. Okay? Pretty important to Christianity. So the tree symbol can represent the tree in Eden, the Tree of Life. Not the Tree of Life, the Tree of Knowledge. For some, jewelry featuring trees represents faith or religious background of the wearer. In other cultures and religions, specifically the Norse or the Mayan, the gods live in the trees. So if you're wearing a tree emblem, it may be symbolizing or representing a deity that's associated with the trees. Some Sumerian and Hindu gods were actually represented by the trees themselves. Trees also often represent the idea of life and death, or death and rebirth. This comes just from the natural cycle of the tree. Loss of leaves in winter followed by the new growth in the spring. pretty basic. Or the decomposing tree makes way for new life to grow. Some people wear the tree or a tree to show being rooted in the present. So the tree serves as a reminder to live now instead of just waiting for the future. Some wear trees to represent growth, because branches continue to grow and stretch. For as long as the tree is around, it'll keep growing, right? So the tree reminds the wearer to continue stretching and growing and pushing themselves, and also while having a solid base from which to grow. So the tree is very symbolic of that. And very few trees float. And trees also represent family. The family tree, hello, they're everywhere. So the tree traditionally represents family. So a tree and jewelry might represent how your family continues to grow and spread out, yet stay very connected. I know my family is spread out all over. Just thinking about my dad's side of the family. My grandmother is quite the historian, and she did our roots and traced back our history. And for the longest time, there's a painting in the family room that showed a tree, basically, with my grandparents in the middle as the trunk, and the roots actually were our great-grandparents, which was interesting to me. The different branches then became my aunts and uncles, and then my cousins, and then their children, and yeah, it keeps going, right? It just never stops, right? We just keep spreading and spreading. And that's just one part of my family. That's not even my dad's family, very specific. My mom's side of the family, more kids even, and even more diverse and complicated. I did a 23andMe thing, just out of curiosity, because I'm just that kind of curious person. And so found out that I've got a cousin. There's a series of cousins that we didn't know about. It's because one of my great-greats, I don't know how many greats, apparently had children outside of the marriage, and nobody knew about it. So yeah, not child, children. So yeah, craziness. You never know what your family tree is going to show up, right? So there's other symbols, of course. I've just gone over a few. Let me check the. Okay, good. Some other things that might show up. Again, crosses, like I mentioned in the very, very beginning. Crosses are very representative of the Christian faith. People wear them all the time. Some people wear an arrow. So the arrow is thought to represent love, and it's also a reminder to have the strength and courage to move forward. Now they also may represent protection. I think Artemis can be represented by an arrow. To remember, Eros, not Artemis, Eros and Cupid. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Arrows, yeah, absolutely could represent protection, because, well, they are part of a weapon, so that would make sense. Doves, some people wear doves as a part of jewelry, or shown or displayed as a part of jewelry. Also, our religious icon representing the Holy Ghost. For some, though, a dove represents peace, love, or fidelity. So if somebody gives you a brooch with a dove on it, it could mean they cared very, very deeply for you. Or it's maybe a trade for peace, or a symbol of peace. The Hatfields and McCoys could have used more doves in their world. So the infinity symbol, or figure 8, represents eternity. And you can see that around the world throughout everything. It's there. So snakes do show up in jewelry a lot. Actually, they showed up a lot in Victorian jewelry. And they represented eternity. So the Ouroboros is a similar design. It's a snake in a circular shape, eating its tail, or its tail is in its mouth. And that represents eternity. for those of you that watched the Wheel of Time series on Amazon Prime not too long ago, one of the major adornments that the Aes Sedai wear is a ring with a snake eating its tail. The way they portray it in the TV show, not quite what I visualized as after reading the book, but everybody has their own artistic license, right? Just because that's not how I imagined it doesn't mean that's not how somebody else imagined it. It's just weird to me the way they did it. Let's see, scarab. Scarabs are actually pretty popular too. You wouldn't think so because, well, it's a bug, but no, they really are. In ancient Egypt, there was a symbol representing renewal and regeneration, because that's what they do. But yeah, it's actually pretty popular. Horseshoes, well, if you're wearing a horseshoe type jewelry, it generally symbolizes luck, or you're in 4-H and you're riding a horse. That may be a thing. So keys, wow, keys are a huge symbol in multiple cultures. For those in the pagan world, keys often represent Hecate, but a key is also a symbol of authority or power to unlock something. Yeah, often is representative of the key to one's heart, for instance, or it could be associated with love. Similarly, a lock represents protecting the heart, so it will represent love as well. So if you have a necklace with a lock and a key on it, and you give the key to your significant other, it means, yeah, you've been protecting your heart, but they've got the key to your heart. It's kind of romantic. It's cute. Something I would have done in junior high, but not so much as an adult. But still, cool. Do I have keys? Yes, I do actually have keys. I don't generally wear them as jewelry. I have some I could wear. But for the most part, I have them as part of my altar because I do follow Hecate and it makes sense for me to have a key. Dragons. Dragons are a big symbol. Let's see if I can show. Let me make sure I can see my camera here. Alright. So if you look, if you're on YouTube and you can see it, there's a nice big umbrella with dragons on it. And there's some other stuff right there. And a ficus. Oddly, I've not killed that one yet. I'm kind of impressed. But dragons are a very, very important symbol in Chinese jewelry design. Represents force and strength, also wisdom and cunning. So the dragon is thought to provide both protection and prosperity. The dragon's a big deal around the world. Shows up in many different cultures. Very, very important in Chinese culture, but yeah, it's a big deal. One that you wouldn't think would represent much or have a good connotation, but actually does, is a bat. You know, generally people wear bat jewelry around Halloween, but okay. But generally, in other cultures, bats have a message of good luck, happiness, and longevity. Maybe that's why they're associated with vampires, the longevity. I don't know. But yeah, it's not just scary for Halloween. It's also has a really good message to it. That hope, that good luck, happiness, longevity. Yeah, those are good things. Let's see. So, you know, regardless of what your jewelry represents, often it's just straight up a cherished keepsake. I know I've got a fair bit of jewelry that I have that will be passed on to Mini-Me or maybe one of her brothers, just because it does have value, it does have importance. Now, her brothers don't necessarily follow the pagan path. I think they're still learning about their yeah, I think they're still learning about their path. So, and that's okay. Because, you know what, spiritual enlightenment or your spiritual journey rarely has a destination. It is a path. You're learning something about the world around you and about yourself. It's not just a straightforward, oh, I'm here. Just like Christianity is not about just going to church. There's more to it than that. a lot more to it. Is the church a big part of that? Yeah. But it's not all of it. So, let's see. What other things to talk about? So, Crescent Moon. So, for me, it's a very pagan thing. It just is. But for others, it means a new relationship. So, if you have started a new relationship and you're very excited and you're gifted with a Crescent Moon, don't just assume that means they're pagan. It may be something else entirely. Specifically, hey, they're commemorating the new relationship, which is cool, you know, it really is. Another one that is one I didn't know about until I started doing some research, and I thought it was really interesting, is the fern. So, kind of Victorian in origination, but still cool, because they used to go fern hunting. But often it means sincerity, or you are in mourning. So, say you've lost someone, and you're going to wear a hat or a headscarf or something, a kerchief. There may be a fern pattern to your headscarf or your kerchief or your tie even. Anyways, off to break. We'll be right back. Holy cow, that one came up quick.
Here's number 2 in the art of persuasion. Accurate facts. Accurate facts. We call it dealing in truth. Accuracy is very important. Here's why. It builds credibility. Credibility starts to weaken if you mess with the facts, the truth, the correct numbers. Now, everybody will give you room for what we call an unintentional error in dealing in facts. Now, see, my watch says about 7:28, but if you were to ask me what time is it, and I were to say it's 7:30, you would allow me to be a couple of minutes off, right? If I said it was 7:30, but accurately, really, truthfully, it was 7:28, you would
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between. Hope you guys are having just a fantastic day that ends in Y. Because you should. That's all there is to it. You just should. Oh, just checking the chats, because if I don't, I'll forget completely. And nobody wants that, right? Or maybe you do. I don't know. There we go. Okay, and oh, wrong button there. There it is. Good night, Lucky. Let's see. So, talk about jewelry tonight, because there's a lot of it, right? And the different designs and symbols, and there's a lot of things that we grew up with that different things mean. But as we age, we're like, oh, so that's what that meant, kind of a thing. Or as we're introduced to different cultures or different societies around the world, because there are different societies, different cultures that have different things, they're different significance. I just always liked antlers, for instance. But they're actually a symbol of leadership. Did you know that? The Elks Club, that makes a certain amount of sense with the antlers, right? You know, if you stop and think about it. But if you didn't know, then you don't know. Like cross doors, I would just think it was something, you know, waterfronty or beach kitsch, you know, that kind of thing. Actually, it means you're content with life. You're content with where you're at. Peace, tranquility, that kind of thing. Had no idea. Makes a certain amount of sense. But okay. The horseshoe being luck, yeah, we've known that one for a long time. Everybody knows that one. But did you know that ivy or evergreen generally indicates fidelity or love, wedded love specifically? That's why ivy is often very, very prominent during wedding ceremonies or arbors, especially garden ceremonies or garden hand fastings and weddings, that kind of thing. Fidelity and longevity. If you give a gift of ivy to a new couple, it makes total sense. Acorns, I always liked them. I thought they were cool growing up. And just because I read a lot. I associated acorns with druids to some extent, but dryads specifically, because it would make sense, right? Oak, acorns, dryads, yeah. But they also represent strength, the mighty oak, right? But they also are representative of Kanunos and some other deities also. So when you're looking at different iconography for jewelry, especially if you're doing it as a gift, do some research. Don't just assume whatever's on top is exactly what it is. Let's see. So there was used to be that when someone died, you entered a period of mourning. And for many cultures, especially in the 18th and 19th centuries, mourning was a really big deal. Death was big business, and mourning was a big deal. And you had to take specific time periods away from society. You wore certain clothing, is often very black and or dark. Black jewelry was really important. A time of mourning or a period of mourning, you probably weren't going to go date, you weren't going to go partying or anything like that. You were quiet and you were reserved, very, very reserved. So beads or crosses or other symbols were often covered or carved from jet, which is a stone, or bog oak, which is black, or even fashioned from black glass, depending on your budget, or black onyx, which is very, very pretty. And memorial jewelry such as lockets, watch fobs, rings, bracelets often had a chunk of hair from the person who passed. That to me is odd. Sorry. But it's something that they did. And having that little piece of hair was pretty much a necessity. Nowadays, you can have jewelry made using the ashes of a loved one. I follow a gal on TikTok. That's what she does. She's got a lab where she will collect ashes from someone who's passed, and through a chemical and heat and pressure process, turn it into a very, very beautiful diamond to be worn or as part of jewelry or something. And it's fantastic. She does fantastic work. But, you know, that's a thing. There's also, I've seen other artwork using ashes. You can have them integrated into paperweights, or so they still look like ashes, or pendants, that kind of thing. So there's, you know, we still memorialize the dead. I guess ash isn't that much weirder than hair. I don't know. But also, they did wear the hair or give a length of hair as a memento if you were going to be gone for a period of time. Like if your boyfriend, your beau, was going off to join the military or go off to sea or whatever, the woman or the girl might give a length of hair for him to wear in a locket to remember her by. So other death symbols, well, urns, of course, that's pretty common. But there's other designs that could have been fallen trees, broken columns. Let's see, my list keeps changing. Obelisks, weeping willows, a sinking ship that could be death by drowning. And it would symbolize mourning, sorrow, or grief. If the enamel was in white, that was often symbolic of a child or a single person. Black enameled snakes often represented eternity. That might show up on rings or lockets. Snakes, crosses, torches, crowns, that kind of thing would show up in death jewelry. As a symbol of bereavement during the Georgian period. And they would be worn with mourning attire, such as brooches or other rings. The snake, if worn in the, often it was braided hair with a cap that looked like the head of a snake and then have a tail of the snake, was a token of remembrance. Is it a little macabre? Yeah, but, it's a symbol of love, a reminder of friendship. It could be just a memento or a keepsake of a child. Not just one who died, but also one who's going away. A memento mori or vanitas would be a skull or a coffin type emblem, or a death's head. It was very popular in the 17th and 18th centuries. And it was a reminder that life's short, because you don't get out of life alive. Everybody dies. And often had a little memento with it that said, life's short. Remember you die. It's like, all right, that's kind of creepy, but okay. So some people would wear an eye as mourning jewelry. It's just a lover's eye rather than the evil eye. A little creepy looking, honestly, some of them. Okay, the Victorian period, some of that stuff was very creepy. They were an odd group of people. Very, very odd. But it was a sorrowful remembrance of someone who passed, especially someone who loved you, that you loved a lot. It'd probably be in mother of pearl or have a jeweled tear of some sort. And then there may be clouds around the eye itself to evoke the imagery of being watched. over from heaven. So yeah, nothing more creepy than a random eye floating in the clouds, right? That's just creepy as F-bombs. Not my gig. Nope. Now, some other iconography or symbols that you might find: spiritual jewelry, like St. George's cross. It's a red cross on a white background. Represents St. George. Also represented the Knight Templar or the Crusaders. And it's still used by many other nations today. It's not just that particular group. It's pretty popular. Let's see. So a dove in a cruciform type shape, again, often symbolized the Holy Ghost. They called it Saint Spirit, and the one I'm looking at here, it's kind of interesting. It's got an anchor and a heart and a cross, so a whole bunch of different things. So let's see. Some other symbols that you might see showing up would be a profile of Hermes or Mercury. It looks like a male profile. And he was just a messenger from the gods. So if you're wearing an image of Hermes, for instance, he is considered the god of commerce and science. So if you were, in years past, if you were a business person, you might wear something with Hermes on it. Jupiter often showed up on jewelry. There may be an eagle and or a thunderbolt involved in the imagery. And god of the seasons and weather. So yeah, he was kind of a big deal. Aphrodite or Venus often shows up on a scalloped shell when you're looking at imagery. And there may be a dove or a swan or a myrtle tree. And so she's considered a beautiful person. So a gift from ages past that you may give your lovely lady as a token of your goodwill or your affection would be a comb with Aphrodite etched or engraved into it. Athena might be something that shows up on your brooch. She was the goddess of knowledge, wisdom, and hold on, I don't know my gods as well as I should, I suppose. Arts and war. She's daughter of Zeus, patron of Athens, of course, and she's often depicted with a helmet, maybe an owl symbol also, or an olive tree. So if you were in the military or perhaps even a librarian, you might wear a brooch with Athena on it. Let's see, any of these else coming? A lot of sailors would carry some sort of imagery with Poseidon on it. Poseidon being the god of the sea. Also earthquakes and horses. So if you're around a lot of horses or earthquakes, you might see Poseidon around also. Depicted with a trident, horses and or bulls. So there's all sorts of different symbols that you might see that you wouldn't necessarily associate with a religion or a spiritual path. Like a cicada, for instance, is a Chinese cultural symbol and is associated with a hope of life after death and immortality. Because cicadas have a really weird life cycle. They're really weird. But yeah, rebirth and mortality, really involved. Today, if you see a peach type image, it often represents the butt or the bum, but according to the Chinese, it was immortality and longevity. It was a big deal. Not the way we look at it now, but the way it was. Another image that the Chinese had a lot of is the foo dog. Now, foo dogs are not necessarily dog creatures. The foo dog is kind of a lion, dog, dragon, scary combination that's really fantastic. Started showing up around 200 BC roughly. And they're very, very much a protector. So they're a protector of truth in Buddhism and prosperity in Chinese. and often they're placed in the front of palaces, at the main door of a palace, for instance, or temples, bridges, homes, government buildings, that kind of thing. Similar to lions in front of the library. And curls, actually, on Fu lions represented the rank, with 13 being the highest, and 7 or less wasn't really a guardian, it was just an image. Let's see, a bee symbol often means you're industrious or diligent in your work, you're a hard worker, which, yeah, that's not a bad thing, honestly. Let's see. The dragon. Yeah, the dragon's a big deal in the Chinese world. Apples and apple blossoms represented peace and love, and the blossoms themselves are symbolic of beauty. I gotta tell you, not much smells better than apple blossoms or plum blossoms or cherry blossoms. They're all fantastic. Oh my stars. Bamboo. So if you get a gift of bamboo when you move into a new home, it generally means you're to be protected, health in your new home, that kind of thing. But an emblem, it symbolizes flexibility, endurance, youth, suppleness, because bamboo is very supple. But it also represents luck, especially with money. So if you walk into someone's house and they have a bamboo plant and a plate or shallow bowl with some coins in it, maybe some salt, some other miscellaneous things, odds are good that they are leaving that as an offering to the bamboo or the deity that works with the bamboo. That's all. And a lot of that is interrelated. Now, I would put salt out more to cleanse the space than to promote longevity, but that doesn't mean that that's not what it's for. It's just another thing. Apricots are also a symbol. They represent spring and good fortune because, well, they tend to be one of the first fruits to ripen in the spring, and they're good. I like apricots. They also, apparently I missed my little button here. Did I miss it? Nope, I didn't. It just went the long way. Also, it represents a beautiful woman. So if someone gives you a gift of jewelry with apricots on it, it could mean that they feel that you're very beautiful. Now, it's not necessarily a tangible or physical beauty. Sometimes that's an inner beauty, something a little less tangible. And it's just, again, all connected and all related. I mean, the Victorians, again, they did a lot of strange symbolism in jewelry in general. And they would wear all sorts of just, I don't know, Victorians were odd. I'm really glad I didn't live in the Victorian times. I just don't think I would have fit in. I would have stuck out more then than I do now. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. They're just an odd people. Let's see. I had something else I wanted to talk about. So we see a lot of different metals when it comes to jewelry. A lot of it does seem to be plated, and that happens, and that's because it's expensive. If you look at the price of silver or gold, it's pretty darn expensive. Silver is a little more affordable than gold. Okay, sorry, it's getting late, it's past my bedtime. Silver is actually a lot more affordable than gold, which is fine with me because I actually prefer to wear silver over gold. I just do. It's very resistant to oxidation, and it's been used in jewelry for a very, very long time. And silver is ultimately pretty inexpensive, especially considered to gold or platinum. It has been used throughout history as a mean of payment. And at times it's been worth more than gold. So it does depend on the culture and the era in which you are living. Let's see. It is just a really important metal. It's been around for a while. I think the first, or one of the earlier silver figurines was a bull figurine that was cast around 3000 BC in southern Iran. So stop and think about that. 3000 BC. That's over 5,000 years ago. That's fantastic. And it's still intact with the engraving marks and everything and the decoration. So, yeah, been around for a while. Now, silver wasn't always mined like it is today, and it varies over time, of course, as technology changes and the way we do metallurgy has changed. Often it was in early years set with lapis or the Kaori shells, that kind of thing. It was used quite a bit in the Minoan, the Mycenaean, and the Phoenician times, just because it was easy to work and it was beautiful. Let's see, a lot of stuff that we don't need to talk about because we're running out of time. Brooches have been silver for a long time. Again, it's partly because it is easy to work and it is technically more durable than gold. Gold is very, very soft. Silver is soft, but not as soft as gold, so it doesn't bend or flex quite as much as gold does, especially the pure gold. Alright, that's what you get. I've got 10 minutes left, less than 10 minutes, and I'm just suddenly hitting the wall. I'm just looking at all sorts of different images and more about silver and stuff, and there's more information there than I could possibly ever go into. Let's see. Yeah, something else that I see often, actually, companion to turquoise is coral, which is more of a pink stone or an orange, kind of an orange, pink, tangerine colored stone. There you go. It's a symbol of passion and attracts both love and prosperity, and is very much for optimism and brings inner peace. So metaphysically it's used for healing because it does place emphasis on blood and circulatory system. So a silver bracelet, for instance, with both with both coral and turquoise in it, very balanced, healing, and helpful to focus and do what you need to do. Let's see. Often we see a lot of diamond jewelry. Diamond jewelry is often quite expensive. A lot of shops don't have as much diamond jewelry in it unless they're more of a high-end, because there's quite a bit of overhead involved. It's expensive. So you may be zircon or quartz as a replacement, and sometimes that's better. For instance, one of the metaphysical aspects of zircon is it's a stone of virtue, so it can help someone's virtuous nature come back into balance with universal forces. So it's often used as a symbol of innocence, purity, and constance. New Age healers today might use zircon in the treatment of sciatic nerve injury or other ailments of the spine. Now, that being said, the diamond itself is a little different, other than being expensive. It's one that bonds relationships and enhances love, so it's considered a master healer. So diamonds are very, very powerful and very strong, as not just physically, because they are one of the stronger crystals on the earth. They're also strong in medicine and metaphysical power. When you shop for jewelry of any kind for yourself or for someone you care about, should you buy what calls to you? Yeah, absolutely. Because your intuition is guiding you, without a doubt. However, do some research before you make the purchase, because not everybody likes the same stones. Not everybody is drawn or attracted to the same stuff. Just they're not, and that's pretty darn normal. It is. A friend of mine doesn't like green sapphires, but she does like blue ones. So if she's going to be given a gift, she doesn't want a green sapphire, she would like a blue one. Pretty straightforward. Some people don't like garnets. Personally, I think garnets are fantastic. They're beautiful. You can mine them here in Idaho, which I think is awesome. I love opals, which is my birthstone. I think they're fantastic also. So, do your research as you're getting ready to buy jewelry, especially if it's for a special occasion or it has some sort of significance. Make sure you're buying it for the right reasons and not just as a band-aid or a fix-it for something else. Be true to whoever's receiving the gift and to yourself as someone who's giving the gift. Or if you're giving it to yourself, make sure it's really what you need and not just what you want. All right, that's all for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Have a good night, all.